first thing that a society needs is a group of people. Secondly, these group of people need to interact with each other, and in order they interact, it is important that they live in close vicinity. So, as you know, India is a very multicultural, multi ethnic, multilingual, multi class, patriarchal society with so many people with multiple even thought processes and multiple ideologies living in India. And all of them basically are coexisting. That's the most important part. That all of these people, in spite of the differences, they coexist. So, based on that, the first thing that we need to know is what do you mean by multi ethnic? Now, what is ethnic or what is ethnicity? Ethnicity basically means that people belong to a certain, culture, similar shared culture, similar. They have a similar, you can say, race or how they have descended from a particular community. So, Indian society is multi-ethnic in the sense that in spite of different racial groups, different, origin, all these people of different races live and coexist with each other. For example, we have you have these races. We have Australide race, we have the Mongol race, we have the African race. So all of them have been living in India in close harmony. For example, there are there are ethno-racial concepts known as where people are decided on the basis of their physical appearances based on genetic origin. Then there is an ethno-regional concept where people are distinguished on the basis of a distinct local culture. For example, some areas people have been relatively isolated. For example, let's say some people who are living in the mountainous areas of North India, some people are living in the island areas of India. Similarly, then there is also known as concept of ethno-religious. So ethno-religious means basically a particular set of group of people which are affiliated to a particular religion, denomination or sect. For example, Jews, they believe in a certain, they have a particular religion and they have a certain official affiliation based on that religion. So India is one such country which is multi-ethnic. There are multiple ethnicities. People from, we have Jews, we have Parsis, we have Christians, we have Hindu, Muslim, Sikh. We have people. Even there are people, certain people living in Ladakh, which are known as the descendants of Alexander the Great. They were basically people who came from Macedonia with Alexander during his army, and these people are still living in Ladakh. They became Indians. They are staying in India. They are staying in Ladakh, and these people are residing and they settled in India. So they are from an altogether different race. For example, the ethnicity of people residing in Northeast is totally different from people who are staying in Northern India. Similarly, people in Central India have a different racial division or a different, you can say, racial origin or ethnic origin as compared to people of Northern India. So Dravidians have a different origin, Aryans have a different origin. So in spite of all that, India has these diverse set of people living in together in harmony. So that is the first feature of our society, that we are multi-ethnic society. And at the same time, because we are multi-ethnic, we all are also lingual. So we have almost 8,000 different languages in India. And in spite of so many different languages, and dominant language has been a dominant feature of our Indian society. And across the length and breadth of country, you will find people who, this is a very common saying in India that probably if you just cross like after every 100 kilometer, the local dialects change. Local speaking languages change. So India, across the length and breadth, you will see so many languages, so many cultures, and similarly there is a multi-class also. So for example, class can be defined in a way that how one is born in a particular society or one a particular family. You can be from a rich class, you can be from an elite class, you can be from a middle class, or you can be from, you can say, from a different section altogether. So basically it is decided by your economic strength, or basically it is decided by your financial strength and social standing in the society, that whether you belong to a particular family. The other interesting feature of Indian society is that it is mostly patriarchal society. So it is basically mostly based on patriarchy. Now patriarchy means that it is the men who dominate the families. So the power, the primary power is held with the men of the family. Now, interestingly, this is not the same case in entire India. In Meghalaya, in Northeast, the society is mostly matriarchal. There, the women are the key position holders and women are the decision makers. Similarly, Nagaland in the same vicinity is extremely patriarchal, extreme patriarchal. Not even like accommodative, it is an extreme level of patriarchy with even patriarchal culture or the patriarchal, you can say, practices are given a protection indirectly under the Constitution of India. That is the level of patriarchy followed in Nagaland. So Indian society is majorly a patriarchal society. We only have a remote, or we can say we have only few instances or some pockets where matriarchy is practiced in India. Otherwise, India is majorly a patriarchal society. Now, next, of course, the important fact is that in spite of all of these differences, in spite of so much diversity, we still live in unity. And that's the beauty of India. In spite of everything, we still live in unity, we live in harmony. There are so many things that unite us, whether it's cricket, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's cinema. We live in peace and harmony. And at the same time, Indian society keeps a balance between spiritualism and materialism. Now, what does this mean? Now, spiritualism basically means that the focus of an individual is to how they connect with their supreme being or how they connect with their own God. Whereas materialism deals with the materialistic pleasures of life. So, as you know, in India, we pay equal attention to spiritualism. We talked about dharma, we talk about karma, all of those concepts. But at the same time, it is also a little bit materialistic as well. So, India, in fact, is one society where there exists a very fine balance between materialism and spiritualism. For example, the Jain community or the Marwadi community are majorly religious. They are spiritual as well. So, by the way, there is being religious and being spiritual are not the same thing. Spiritual is spirituality is basically an individual concept, how an individual wants to connect with his or her God. It's not the same as being religious, because in being religious, religiosity or being religious comes with a certain bit of practices, the rules and the conditions that you have to follow within that ambit of religion. But when somebody is spiritual, it does not mean that they will always follow what is mentioned in the rules or so-called norms of religion per se. So in India, we have a balance of spiritualism and materialism. So these communities are materialistic because they are majorly into trading and business. They are some of the richest communities in India, but at the same time, they are very spiritual also. They carry out, they give donations. They are into philanthropy because they consider it as a part of connecting with their God. If they have something, they also feel that we need to give it out to other people as well. So that is the spirituality aspect of that. So in India, we have majorly what Western thinkers have thought that in India, people are almost always engaged with the concept of spirituality, dharma, part, puja, religion. Aisa nahi hai. India is a balance of spiritualism and materialism. And at the same time, we can be considered as a traditional society. No doubt about that. We are not as free as America or Europe, though the things are changing now with the changing dimensions of society. Even you can say how India has evolved over the period of time. Our culture has also evolved. We are getting more and more modern. So, in spite of being a traditional society, there is a fine balance with modernity as well. So we might value traditional ideas, we might value our Vedas, but at the same time, we are also open to concepts of Western world. For example, the best example right now is the homosexuality, the decriminalization of homosexuality, or Section 377, the portion dealing with homosexuality. Now, homosexuality was something which was mentioned not exactly in the Vedas, but you can see homosexuality being depicted in Khajuraho in the temples and also being depicted in a lot of ancient and medieval Indian paintings. So that way we can say that the society at that time was kind of more open in accepting homosexuality. But then what happened in middle, that why we suddenly all of us became against homosexuality. But now again, the Supreme Court has decriminalized it. So people are getting more and more acceptance. homosexuality is getting acceptance, people from the LGBTQ community are getting acceptance. So that kind of shows that in spite of we being a traditional society where even hugging in a public place might be considered an offensive thing to do, accepting homosexuality at the same time goes a long way ahead in accepting that Indian society has come a far way in accepting the concept of traditionalism and modernity and maintaining a balance between them. And it is to the credit of India and the people of India that a lot of countries, the so-called Western developed countries, actually do not even recognize homosexuality, because a lot of countries, like say in Middle East, in Islam, their concept of Islam, they do not accept the concept of homosexuality. They are very, very strict on these areas. In fact, even England, country like that, so-called Western powers took a lot of time before actually accepting homosexuality, and it is still not widely accepted in a lot of their communities. At the same time, there is also a balance between individualism and collectivism. Now, in India, every decision of a person's life is taken by their family members, where group is given priority, the majority members are given priority. But at the same time, you see a recent trend that even individual is now the focus. Individual choices are being considered as important. Otherwise, earlier it used to be whatever the majority feels or whatever is in the interest of the group, that used to prevail. Whatever is good for the family members, that used to prevail. But now that thing is changing. We now have a balance between an individualism and collectivism, because generally Western societies used to focus more on individualism. Collectivism was more of a feature of Indian society. But over the period of time, you must see, and you might have noticed that India is kind of balancing the concept of individualism and collectivism. The importance which is given to individual ideas, self-reliance, independence. People are living, with their living partners. They are residing in different cities. They have their own opinion. They have their freedom of speech. So individual ideas and individual concepts are also gaining recognition, and Indian society has been trying to balance both of that, and we are right now our society is a balance of both. Other very important fact of the matter of Indian society is the blood and kinship ties. We give a huge importance to our blood relations. No other probably country in the world gives so much importance to blood and kinship ties. So blood relations enjoy so much depth and so much importance over the family. If you're related to somebody via blood connection, then it is something that you can totally rely upon that person, that probably you have either they have some sort of obligation towards you, or you have some sort of responsibility towards them. Kinship ties, on the other hand, basically means on the basis of either marriage or basically friendship. So in India, we have both, because we value both the blood ties and the kinship ties. Here people, a country like India, which even considers guests as a form of God, with the, Atithi Dev Bhava. So in India, it is very apt that we understand that blood and kinship ties are going to be an important part of our Indian society.